Welcome to One Man's Tracks, the secondhand music channel. I absolutely adore acquiring an absorbing album from an underappreciated artist. And Audience is the latest such group. A band with seemingly all the elements to make it, but either through their unconventional musical makeup of an acoustic guitar driven electric sax accompanied style that makes for a fairly difficult to describe rock blend, leading to perhaps a lack of press. They also ran into the classic pitfalls of burnout and bad luck, on top of now being pretty much unsearchable on Google. During their short time together, however, they flirted with success but never properly managed to break through into the mainstream. Howard Worth, Trevor Williams, Keith Gemmell, and Tony Connor formed Audience in London in 1969 following the breakup of Worth, Williams, and Gemmell's prior soul band, Lloyd Alexander Real Estate. They would rapidly acquire management, a residency at a prestigious local jazz club, as well as a recording contract with Polydor, recording and releasing their eclectic, eccentric, self titled debut before the year was through. Dissatisfied with the label's promotion of their debut, the band ditched Polydor, literally running away, leaving the country altogether, and subsequently that debut record was deleted entirely shortly after its release. It didn't take long for this promising progressive group to be noticed by another record label, its Charisma Records director, Tony Smith, that saw them opening up for Led Zeppelin, and he signed them immediately. The band burned bright with passion, but almost as quickly as they appeared, they were gone. After just a few busy years together, they'd release 3 records through Charisma before fracturing in 1972. Each of those 3 LPs all bring something a little different to the table, with 1970s Friends, Friends, Friend being their most psychedelic, cinematic, progressive journey out of the 3. However, their follow up, The House on the Hill, is unmistakably their crowning achievement. They strike such a magnificent balance between progressive and pop sensibilities, even with a couple over 7-minute tracks like Jackdaw or the title track. They sink deeply into them, but never overindulging, but still squeezing these top tracks for every bit of juice they've got. It's a record that seemingly doesn't compromise a whole lot, but still holds on to a masterful feel for commercial discretion. A wonderful early 70s prog rock record I'll be keeping a keen eye out for. But today, I'm here to recommend what some might consider to be a disappointing finale to this undersung group. It's no House on the Hill, sure, but if you can look beyond some of the underdeveloped ideas of their 1972 release, produced by Gus Dudgeon, and finished off with the help of the brass section of the Rolling Stones, Jim Price and Bobby Keys. Lunch is a lovely art rock escape in its own right. We get an atmospherically lighter, less roaming audience this time around, yet burdened with various tinges of regret. Lunch has some fun numbers, but it sees the band trapped in an uncertain, unsatisfied space, reminiscing on lives lost. In this disjointed track list, there's an idealistic longing that remains rooted in an underlying, sobering understanding of life's many ups and downs. Always on the run, looking back regretfully with a pitiful, self righteous resolve that sure is frustrating and egotistical, but incredibly human and told with enough playful self-awareness and triumphant rockin' fanfare to bring it all home. starting off strong with the bittersweet, sentimental Stand by the Door. A steady, pining, Bowie-esque rock ballad with a simple, catchy chorus about a lost love and just getting old. A super solid tune that doesn't quite achieve the emotional payoff it deserves, I think, by being placed up front right at the start of the track list. They likely just thought, hey, that's a good tune, put it first. It also does end up getting undercut by the swinging blues rockin' follow up Seven Sore Bruises about a righteously vengeful mother in law walloping on a cheating man. It's fun and quick, but rather unnecessary. I would like to think that if the band hadn't broken up before they'd properly finished this record, that track might have not made the final cut. I don't think there's any really bad songs on the album, just not a whole lot of cohesion with the way it's assembled, both narratively and musically. Like, for example, the whimsical little Psyche Island hula girl. It's light and carefree and would maybe make for a nice little happily ever after send off, but it sort of gets unceremoniously thrown at third in the track list here. I've had to do it a couple of times now, and I'm trying my best not to make a habit of it, but I did reorder this album just for the sake of showing how much reframing a track list can change an album, and also simply for my own enjoyment of it, because some of these choices here feel a little egregious. But come to think of it, maybe that is part of the point of this record. They're highlighting the emotional mania and frivolousness of a rambling life. Who's to say, but you can check out my reordering down in the description there. Next, they hit us with the doleful, bluesy, soulful, introspective cut, Ain't the Man You Need, whose can't be helped, lost in the world attitude deserves a better spotlight once again. It's a gut punching number with excellent atmosphere that absolutely oozes with the freewheeling longing that so palpable and so cutting. I love it every single time. There's so much potential when it comes to the sort of meandering midpoint in a chord. It's the second longest track on the record, swaying nicely with really sweet sax solos and riffs, even has grand proggy builds and clever lyrics, but never quite seems to release the energy it accumulates, and it kind of leaves this hopeful tune hanging unsatisfactorily. Now, I think Barracuda Dan manages to do a lot more with a lot less. This funky little swinging bop about a fearsome old western sheriff tries its best to kick off the escapist second half of this LP with a splash, but first we end up stumbling into an affectionate love song called Thunder and Lightning. Again, not a bad song, but just a little baffling that they'd put this soulful number right after that just upbeat, silly cowboy cut. Either way, now we get to run away with the final three. First, we hit the jaunty, can't look back, accordion led Mediterranean street song called Party Games, then onto the high energy, cautionary outlaw rockin' trombone gulch, and finishing it all off with the romanticized musing send off, Buy Me an Island. With audience's signature punchy wind riffs, moving rhythms, and multi genre stylings, they gleefully charge forth into the trappings of escape through individualistic, emotional, and lawless means, cutting ties and bidding adieu to the record and the band, ceremoniously bringing an end to an all too short lived and undersung casualty of an unforgiving industry, with each of the members going off to join various groups throughout the 70s to various degrees of success, they would eventually reunite over 30 years later in 2004 and tour for nearly a decade, even releasing a live album up until the point where Gemmel became too unwell to continue around 2013. Listening to audiences provided another splendid insight into this dynamic period of music, a wealth of influences coming together from swing to folk and blues to psych and R&B to soul and even more. It's perhaps this lack of a unifying musical identity that ended up thwarting audience in the first place. This spirited prog band maybe needed to narrow down just a tad. Were Howard Worth's potent Fogarty plant reminiscent vocals too little or too much? He certainly seems like frontman material here. Heck, he almost managed to get the Doors back together. Were Keith Williams's storytelling lyrics a bit too quirky? I'm not entirely sure what elements they were missing here. I'm certain they would have rocked live, so let me know what you guys think. Regardless, I very much enjoyed discovering them and would love to know your thoughts, feelings, and memories of audience down in the comments below. Feel free to check out the original track list or my updated version down in the description. Hit all those silly YouTube buttons down there and all over here, and have an awesome rest of your day, guys. Take care.